I had like that Monica short, like don't look, ne, with the slit on the side. Mona out just saying one of the nigga short out. I feel like it's just one of them days, okay? And then everybody would just start bopping. I wanna take some time out to bring things through. That vibe, you know, ya Monica happy na omu. Anyway, we know that we can break it out into a Monica song, okay? Yeah, mara I get let's go the tonga the last day. Utlanonso kama para tuku, but by the end of the week, the Kelsahaho is giving bye-bye. So I get it where like relaxed hair is really easy to blow dry. It's really easy to do whatever. So I used to wash my own hair, blow dry it. The only time that I would go to the salon where it's amiriri was when I would relax my hair. Next I did the treatment and nothing extra hair hectic. I did all that at home, okay? By myself, especially considering my mom was a product junkie because her brother was a stylist at some point. So there were all these things in the life available for me at Jaradini. I didn't have to go into treatment. It was right there with Jaratang. All right. Now I'm the guru. Amen. Anyway, Kemaswabi. So of course, had dongification, ifela. When the tongification got finished, it was time for me to now wash. When I was a kid, every weekend, every Saturday, I used to wash my hair like religiously. I never skipped a week. Like I don't even know what I'm doing today. Like I had a routine that I was very disciplined to keep as a teenager, right? So I washed my hair after a week. Cause I about these sprays intense and they harden you know, holding spray. After making you have mazimba, crinkle cut. So I had to get all that product out. So I washed my hair after a week. After tongification, even though there was a tongo high, I wasn't trying to do any of that on my own. I was too lazy. Got blow dry. And then I can blow dry. And I'm like, Bantla, we on naked class go long kill so. Yo, didn't hang momo dimasho. I'm in grade 9, I get who important when you're a teenager. How you be looking like, are the boys still gonna think I'm pretty? Are the girls still gonna be like, oh, you look nice today? Or are they gonna mar me with guaroms? But long because it's a very fragile space that you don't just rock up with some strange hairstyle like, hey, there was a chick, it's called her name was Muriel, yo. Her name was Muriel. One day in grade 11, some fateful, thunderous day in grade 11, Muriel decided to come to school. I think it was an Ampur wannabe fake popcorn. It wasn't the real deal, y'all. Lots of gel. It was sleeked down, but at the same time, man, it looked horrible. And Washabwa from the morning at assembly, when we first saw her, until Washabwa from the morning, well, all the way into first break, second break, and then after school, Skologa fella singers through the grapevine. Yo, did you see Muriel's hair? Yo, did you see Muriel's hair? Yo, did you see Muriel's hair? Sonke iskole. This chick was in my grade. Mara, Skologa fella. We were in grade 11, grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, 11, metric. Yo, we're all up in this chick's grill like proper, the only ones that were not giving a grief Nelly prefect because they were supposed to be better than everybody else. Hey, baton, you guys. I am not lying to you. Uncle Mamanga. After school, Bamlandu Muriel. And Manje, you know how a crowd draws a crowd spectator value. Bamulatella, balibakana bana, nkarenele se John Kaufela, guys, I am not lying. It's like it was the whole of Sir John Adamson. Bonke abantwana after school, guys. Bonke. From all the grades. A crowd struggling to even squeeze out of a gate. And a gate that thing in the double gates. After school, never will the gates. It's a double. Because there was a single gate on this side and then a double gate to let cars in and out. Parents, you know, teachers were also going home. So gate immediately after school, for half an hour and then close it again. Gate and crowd in was squeezing through this wide gate. Gate A, gate A2, the wide one. Yo, this students were struggling and got toothpaste coming out of a tube to squeeze through these double gates, and then of course the little one on the side. Even Muriel as she was walking out of the school grounds going home with one of her friends. Yo, guys, teenagers can be so mean. My girls and I come out of class from the side where it is that it was our last episode class, our last it wasn't a lecture. When you're in school, it's like last episode, not last period. Yeah, it was our last period. My last period was school, so we only caught wind of this like later on as to what's going on. Rebona crowd in pretty much out of the school grounds. And as what you call this, because rifle range, like I went to search on Adamson High, the street outside of that school is called Rifle Range Road. It's a main road, and there's a robot there by the school, and also a pedestrian crossing, but students have to wait for cars to go, stop, whatnot. There were no scholar patrols in high school, only in primary school. I get to across Rifle Range without like causing traffic, because it was a main road for Krayo, guys. Bamulatela, and went over Rifle Range like a riot, or like during a funeral procession where it is that robots don't matter, and the police stand there to let the hearses go, let the funeral motorcade if it, and so whether it goes red, green, blue, purple, whatever the robot, it doesn't matter, yellow, it doesn't matter, because we must respect that there is a funeral happening. So hahona red robot. It's like these kids created that kind of situation where cars just had to stop. They just had to stop to let literally Sir John Kaufela Ampor, maybe, yeah, guys, I can't, it was almost like it looked like it was a whole school. It looked like it was a whole school. Let Sir John Kaufela if it cross strata just so they could follow a chick home. Yo, this chick, hairstyle ya gaga I ke tsebe ne di ntshang ne le di guts tse ding tse popcorn angazi ukuthi meka enzeni gel. Why a tsule ntlung jarateng a le jwalo o zamme o ba cute mara ba mo lanza ba mo kwara. Ba mo latella as a crowd all the way up until in my high school nyaka. There was like a shop where we used to buy slab chips and the chocolate and whatnot after school, right? Bamulate let more or less around Shopoeo and then came back. Cause I mean, we can't follow her all the way home now, can we? Yeah. Because of her freaking hairstyle. Yo, like when you dealing with that kind of hostile potential mob, just cause you decided to go to school, you will be given a Muriel send-off, okay? And thank God it wasn't the days of kids just out here dropping dead from suicide, from bullying. Now people are so sensitive that people are out here killing themselves over stuff like that. But I kid you not, like, I don't know what I would have done if the whole school had followed me like that, the way that they did with Muriel. When my girls and I came out, this crowd was already over Rifle Range Road. And some of them were crossing Rifle Range Road. And some of them were still in the tail inside the school grounds. The way this crowd was so big, it looked like a riot. But they were following this girl just saying, your hair, what did you do? It's like a cat. Oh my, yo, Joe. Just mean girls and mean boys and my girls and I. Just mean girls and mean boys and my girls and I had heard in the grapevine that hey, here's Talia Muriel, and then I hadn't seen it. We hadn't seen it because there's only like Papa, we've got classes and we did not want the spectacle that Muriel became. We did not follow it. But I know it's why crowd and because a crowd draws a crowd, it draws attention, it draws spectators. My girls and I were like, are you telling me that Muriel's hair did that? From either the prefabs, we come out and we rushed out because I mean everybody was going somewhere. Everybody was going towards this thing. So Nati, out of curiosity, we were like, let's say outside of the school gates, and they teased her. And my girls and I just stood back and were like, yo, this is intense. Long story short, you don't play around in high school. You don't dance around. You don't just a regular pushback. It's okay. Hey, it's a pushback. Like, just don't play if at all you can't vet that this thing is going to be safe in the climate of some teenage children. Just do a good old-fashioned pushback and ain't nobody gonna come at you for that. Like, keep it safe, you know what I'm saying? So spilling after blow dry. I was like, at that stage it was yet to be like the Muriel thing was yet to happen, but I already had an acute understanding as to the hostilities that can slap you as a teenage girl when you go to school with some kind of hairstyle. Like, hey girl, don't be doing nothing of that nature to yourself now. Like, have some respect for yourself now. Do that. So after blow dry, and I'm like, as in labantwana, kids can be mean. dintja tse di a kgona ho hobola a ke batla nna ho hobolelwa and hape nna jwanong ke batla ho ba popular, ke batla ho maintain popularity, ke batla ho ba regarded. I'm not going to lose my clout over this. I was popular, please, like, just put that out there. I'm not going to lose my clout over this. I get to after Kitonga, people were like, nice, you look nice. Mara, now that I've washed my hair and blow dried it, so I went to Karabo, drop your mewaka, batla something, and then I found, I can't really say that it was gel. I was never a big fan of gel, but it was just a product that was tacky enough to pretty much sleek my hair down. Remember I said, push back, you are safe with it. Mara, push back, it's gonna eventually just be like, boo, it's gonna spring out, boo, it's gonna pop out. Like, so I found some product, go to mewaka, after I keep blow dry jwalo, and then because my hair was still relatively thin against my scalp, I then decided to sleek it down. I then decided to sleek my hair down. I then made a decision that I'm gonna sleek my hair like flat down, create like a little bit of a, like, you know, like a slit over there, and then sleek it down that way, or either all the way back, sleeked down, or whatever. Like, yeah, just sleek it down. Mara, because it's so short, 2070 says something that's tacky. And I found a product, I can't tell you what it is, something else often free, I can even anything in Japan, and I sleeked my hair down, and I went to school. And the response was, your hair looks nice. Again, I was like, whoo. I breathed a sigh of relief. People were like, your hair looks nice, Karabo. Your hair looks nice, Karabo. I was like, thank you. I was like, okay, so this is the solution. While my hair is this little small thing, I'm just gonna sleek it down. I'm gonna outjut that product that my mama got my whole dropo. And I'm going to slather it until I have enough hair to have ipondong and elbonagalayo. Mar, I've got dark hair, yalla. I just showed you his nembe. I just showed you his tombe, snepe. You know when you mix Tswana, Sotho, and Zulu and Pedi, snembe. Snepe. I just showed you in this photograph. Ore moaka o etsang ha ona le go through. I get guys. Go through and how can that ligusha. If you were to take off this ligusha, okay, I need to bring this stuff a little bit closer because of stickers. How can ligusha lena, my hair is just going to, I get it sleeked down. If you then remove the gusha, it goes sleek down. If you remove the gusha, it does that. So when my hair was still fresh, sleeking it down got product soft and free, whatever. Ain't nothing free about any of that. Anyway, whatever. It's hana. At some point, product and let's get gel, and I guess gel. And guys, it's like still to this day, I'm not a fan of gel. I don't like how it makes it hard. I saw colored girls sleeking their hair down with gel, and I was like, I didn't like the way that it looked. It's good when it looked like and I didn't like that look. And funny thing, it was also outlawed in school. If there was too much gel in your hair, they would make you wash it out. So it was also dangerous to have all that gel in your hair, because they would make you go to a pump or tap and rinse it. So many colored boys and girls were like, here, bashapa shampoo session. There was so many rules. Like, they didn't even let girls have. That's also another thing. At the time when I was in high school, our principal had lacked understanding concerning black girls. And black culture. And our hairstyles, and so she outlawed Mrs. De Beer. You will remember her. She outlawed like extensions, weaves for black girls. We couldn't do braids. We could not. Dye was outlawed across the school, of course, whether you're white, black, purple, or pink. But when you're a black girl and you dye your hair blonde, it is clear that your hair is blonde. That's not your natural hair color. But there was not really. Actually, it's not that clear. There was this one chick whose hair was like naturally very, like, she had these ginger tips and she did not dye them. And they were trying to tell her, you need to remove that dye from your hair. And she's like, ma'am, this is my natural hair. I've never dyed it before. So it became an issue. Like, we were just being attacked as black girls. But white chicks could get away with going from blonde to auburn to brunette to, because they can't tell that you are a brunette naturally or you're blonde naturally. But with us, when we dyed our hair, and the dye colors that we tended to like were like the red nyana. We used to like maroon and even blonde. They refused. Anyway, and over and above the refusal for us to bleach our hair, there was also a rule against fiber, like singles. Like, we couldn't do bonding weave, and we also couldn't do the single unless it was matric dance. Then they would let you go. They would let it slide because you have to make yourself pretty. Matric dance, Mara, you can't get singles, you can't get braids, nothing. So we had to work with what we had, like we had to work with what we had. The only time that they would accommodate was if umawako robots herself or re ko salooning ba go ropotsitse self mara wa ka kenya fiber they're gonna send you home and say ka sane come back o khakhile or go khakha mo sekolong. It was just so bad. Like, but then again, all the schools I went to were like that though. Like, what is it with people coming up against the glory of young girls, young black girls? Hemachung, in these religious establishments, when I was at St. Matthew's, they didn't want us to have hair at all. Like, go St. Matthew's, you had to have like, St. Matthew's grade, the beginning of my life. I went to Dumelang Primary School first. Go Dumelang no Holomanate, you could go there, got these singles, you could go there, they got relax. Skolo Sako Soweto, you could go there, whatever. It was a government school. Nobody gave you grief, right? I then went to a Catholic school, St. Matthew's, Korokville. And go St. Matthew's, I was there for literally just a few mere months. I wasn't there very long because I moved on to Winchester Ridge Primary very soon thereafter. Mara, in that season, I was so nar because as a black girl coming from a family that has got the uncle Lele, basically, but we had stylists. We had stylists that did hair, ekaya. Umalume, ukazi, and it was like a whole thing. Miriri was a big thing in my extended family. And coming from a family, when my best friend cousin has got the best hair in the whole family, and her uncle utala asi relaxa and whatnot, and little girls like adore having long hair because that's what makes them pretty. And then you go to a school that says kuta njaeo, yo. Yeah, guys, when I moved to St. Matthew's, I was so nar. My older cousin was at that stage. She was also go St. Matthew's Primary. She was older than me by 4 years, born 1980. Yeah, Joe, like, they run in the fam. Stofinyana sa afro. As well relaxing. More than St. Matthew's Catholic school that employed rules on little girls that you can't be pretty. Not like that. We were not allowed to wear earrings. We were not allowed to have hair ezikula unless it was an afro. Not even an afro. Basically, relaxed hair. We could not, like, all the girls in the school looked the same. They had what in the world was that about? I wonder if Nakhona Joloko High School, because St. Matthew's was both a high school and a primary. I never got to see what's going on in the high school, but I'm pretty sure they might have they probably did adjust the rules later on. Because I had some friends when I was in first year Wits that were from St. Matthew's, so yeah, no, they could have hair, I guess, in high school. In the early years here, you had to have just a small little amount of hair. No, how every time Wahu looked like it was growing too much, I had to shave it. Ingati all of us were in mourning. I rebelled, guys. Wait, see, the Lord has always been with me. Oh no, God, Marrainer Jaser, the Lord God Almighty has always made me a standard or a cut above the rest everywhere where I was at. Protected me. Therein lies the very religion, the very religiosity, whatever you want to call it, this thing of forcing women to cut their hair, forcing women to cover their hair, because you need to be really plain for you to be righteous. The Lord already dealt with it. Like a foreshadowing. Go St. Matthew's, where you can even have these singles as a little girl, insofar as they're neat and meet school uniform requirements. Insofar as they're neat and not pink like Karabo singles, black, maradi neat, you know? Yeah, insofar as huli neat, di kala tengata. Mewa how agautisa skolongo ka moropotso ka di. Mewa how agautisa skolongo ka moropotso ka di conro. Weave was always just a taboo. I don't know why you would want to put weave on a child. Man, these days weaves look so real that your kid actually not like it don't show. Anyway, but that was before people innovated innovated very natural looking things. The lace front and whatever. It was a government school and basiagela to do whatever insofar as it was neat. And then go St. Matthew's, but like a rule. Ko family ya miriri eratang miriri eling busy ka miriri and ang di professionals ta miriri, and then they like uda. I'm like, yeah, but like auntie I'm jelene auntie Antiza angijela Antiza kaze uzoyisa abantwana bakho esikolweni kanjani esingena ndaba ngeinwele Antiza. When your ubhuti wakho is a stylist, nawe ustyle ki abutwa how lwena o tla o kena kwa hara di saloon o tswa family ya miriri nje fela o botla kena ngwana ha wa ngwanyana ko sekolong se tlo mo fostang kankane hore a be le mbambatha ke nka wena auntie. You are putting rules, a burden, a yoke on your daughter that in and of yourself you can't care. Just like the Pharisees, just like the teachers of the law. My aunt is among the most religious people in my family, but she's not godly, she's not saved. And in particular Roma, hectically. And hectically ba gage ba ko Roma. Bumenzo gore I kenye bana ba gage ko St. Matthew's, which is a Roman Catholic school. And nang di nun and everything. Ha katamo in all of her religiosity ko bo romeng ba teng. Abatlo etsa ngwana o montle wa o golang. Wangwanyan, wahai, a gole ka mbambatha. Even though o tswa go family ya di cherry tsa di relax tsa go fitla mo all over the show. My aunt refused my older cousin, a girl, free reign to do whatever she wants ka inwele za gagwe. My cousin, listen, ke godile cousin ya ka sna meriri. And not because he couldn't grow, but because ne ba dula ba ikuta. O nana le mbambatha. For as long as I could remember, I think my cousin was only able to finally relax, finally get the weave, the wig, the anything. After matric, like I literally believe that my cousin never had any relaxed hair until a matric. I guess sure, I can't 100% validate that, but she was totally locked out of everything that we were doing, experimenting on her hair. And here it is that Karabo goes to St. Matthew's. Because for a season I was made to live with my aunt. I then go to St. Matthew's in like grade, a small little grade, like I could have been like grade 2, maybe, yeah, grade 1, 2, like very early. I then moved on to Mayfair Convent shortly afterwards. I go to Mayfair Convent in grade 2. That's how many schools I changed. Like, if you've already been to 3 schools by grade 2. Yo, your mama and your daddy and your grandmama, your auntie, every grown up in your family don't know jack about raising you. Like, I went to so many schools before I was in grade 3, before I was in standard 1. Like, I kid you not, I was in 3 separate primary schools between grade 1 and grade 2. Anyway, the first one was Dumelang, the second one was St. Matthew's, and then I stayed at least go Mayfair Convent until standard 3, and even then until the middle of the year. And then I moved over to Winchester Ridge Primary. Mayfair Convent was a Catholic school, and so too was St. Matthew's. And go St. Matthew's, and I get there. Wait again, we got stories in these streets. Because I've got this coffee tongue. Use the bathroom and then come and tell you what in the world happened, so you can understand these things have nuances, they have a history. Mara, the separation that God is about to endure the human race through is similar to my hair care journey. Y'all gonna know what time it is. I'm finally gonna get to sealing this conversation. Mara, let's check out your watch and then you're going to call it. Like a person that's actually coded in the hospital, you gonna call it. I'm just saying. The name of Christ. Amen. Let's go and brush the teeth. What's up? I'm back. You know, from this angle, I don't have a sense of time because usually my computer back there lets me know what time it is. But very soon, I'm gonna have many devices. Anyway, and now I can relax. My tongue has no coffee on it. My teeth are clean. And we are glad. Because this is the day. This is the day. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. That the Lord has made. We will rejoice. We will rejoice. And be glad in it. And be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And this is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made. Amen. Hallelujah. It's giving praise the King. Anyway, hey, Kenya. Like a country in Africa. You got lamni attitude. Anyway, go to a good right, Dangish. She's on so right. We gonna set some people right. Anyway. Here in lies Karabo. Hey, getting enrolled in a school because my mom made me live during the season when she was studying further. She made me live with her aunt because unabalako Unibo, very far away. And so Kalo Jula, and then my older sister like they just separated us, okay? Whatever, for a season. My older sister and I were separated, and I was growing up with my aunt in Hlongwane, while my older sister was in Claudi. Hey, yes, guys. I had to deal with the cat. Had to deal with cats. Anyway, yeah, moving on. Yeah, during the season when my mom was studying further at like some faraway university, my older sister lived with my grandmother, Kutladi, and I lived with my aunt, Kutlamini. Okay, And so I went to Roma. I went to Roma, St. Matthew's, Roman Catholic school. Kilego set up and there were these crazy rules, even though it's a hair professional family. And then my aunt, seeing as I was living with her, then took me to St. Matthew's primary school with her children. My boy cousin, my girl cousin, and me. The youngest one was, yes, born, but she was like really little, I think like creche or whatever. So she's only ever been in these English schools. Okay, cool beans and bananas. Very well. And before Kikena was kolong sating. Before Kiken. The way guys, I've always had a strong head. The Lord has always helped me in that regard. Khale ki tshwere ke sa tshwara ke motho. Khale ke sa tshwarisege. Khale ke sa boshege. Khale ke sa tronkege. Khale ke sa tanya ne ege. Khale ke sa tanya na ke sa tanya nege. Angaze mina ngenwe etanyana successfully ngabantu. Ngama rules engenzi sense ashe. O tla tlogelwa o be the only girl ko sekolong ka relax. That was Karabo. Ningazodlala ngam. Dala God angibonisa ukuthi the day's gonna come girl when you're gonna be the only one walking around in a particular way, mara in the run up to kuzobe kube nama rules abantu bakuforcile bakuheshile bathi enza kasiyo, and you're gonna be like, hey Ozan, kom on sa gur where me ritlogu mara nna ke fa ndamo le tompo, you might play dirty but I'm gonna win. Khale ke le jalo guys, so ntwele zamang ka jeko, especially now that I'm 41, se ke le calloused ke sotlego le age imtala mainga ha ba nne le sangkhone ke na le 10 ke na le 9 ha ne le sangkhone ke na le 9 ne le tlonketsang ke na le 41 St. Matthew's day before ke kena le koteng just like usual. Hey mewak tactless ongtha sekolong maharaja fela wa ripped apart like a piece of paper. Ke tswa ko dumelang mahareng a jara ke ya St. Matthew's. One Friday ke ko dumelang ka Saturday I get put in a car driven to Dlamini. Got suitcase, got bag. My mom drops me off with my aunt. Because I wanted to stay with her. Yeah, it was all of the like kids were there. But it was God's plan. It was God's plan like this whole time. Like I was separated so very much from my cousins, my sister. Oh, like I didn't even understand why we had to be separated. I didn't get it. Like just let me go to the same school that my older sister goes to. Let me go. Let me stay with the grandmother. I also want to hang out with my grandmother's house in Etletse. It was the place to be. And so me being separated, I was just like musical chairs, y'all. It's like the Lord was preparing me for a future where that's gonna happen, where my family members are just gonna kick me around like a soccer ball from house to house, and I'm just gonna have to rest. I would go pop. Matter of fact, they used to do that to me, and they would then lie to me and say, and then I would stay there, be comforted, and then I'd be waiting for them to come and pick me up so we could go to Gold Reef City, and nothing. They would give me big stories to make me stay because I didn't understand why I had to be separated from them. I've been getting separated. It happened ko Dlamini, it happened ko Mlatsane, and ko Mlatsane ko Mapetla. I'm sorry, I'm moving around. I'm eventually gonna merge, alright? Go Moletsane, go Osmamosa, Mone Bang to this thing. Osmamosa, albeit being a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman, was not even fam, y'all. She wasn't a family, she was, my grandmother. Having one of those best friends, those boombas that are so tight that they like fam, that you can leave your kids with them for like 2 years. That's who Osmamosa was. She was my grandmother's boomba. She was my grandmother's best friend, and her kids were just really close family friends. And they made me live with them, and I was just like, why? Like today it doesn't make sense. Like when I think about it today, I was the only child. Omega Shiwa yo everywhere. My cousins stayed with their mom and dad. My sister stayed at least with my grandmother during the time when my mom was studying. Because my parents got divorced very, very. I was like 5. Like we were too young. All these events happened after divorce. So my mom for a season and then she went res where she was studying. Yeah, and in those seasons when she needed somebody else to take care of her children because she was getting her degree. As Karabo Hlongwane, I was the one that was like, rejection dala shem in shapagampam. Khale rejection in shapagampam, I was the only one. Now imagine growing up with a whole bunch of kids go fela kom banana. Black man patile diketo. Homonate o tletse bana ba bangata ka sing yo bana ba kontlung ele ka fela every day we get all dusty and ashy and then go home to our respective places. Megumnandi enkhunweni. Kong ke di mix and the language le ska tlong borang. Kong khonong go heso. Go tladio hano. Nele batida. For children, it was the baddest place to be. Everybody wanted to be there. Don't know other home. I missed my extended family. Compare. It like nowhere else compared. Wonke umuntu megaza it go tladi. For the holiday, for the June holiday, for the December holiday, negatladi. Everywhere else negubora, ndofaya negubora, dlamini negubora. Everywhere else megubora. Oh yeah, another place where it was the baddest. Like nediwa, neliko Mamelodi, mara it was far. We didn't go there very often. And we barely ever stayed over a couple of days. It was always like a weekend and we struggled to come back home. Cause culture yako Mamelodi, no shem. No kutuka moloda. Nene mezisha ziwa. Anyway, mara, I guess we couldn't go that much. Mara, number 2, nele kotladi. It came a close second in terms of how much more fire it was to be all up in that trend. It was the place to be for kids under 10. Like, it was the place to be. Y'all. And they took me everywhere else. Kids about horiziwa kai, dicha kai, kinzo mbuka kem kembihwe. Banglashela mina. Like tule kon. Sure. Lena nekile dog shebeleza mus. Ebum nandini gulazo tola koda. Lena nekile jwalo, except not quite. I was the one child that they said retlohutima mona tikangkan. Leskatlon Kenya na mostrateng. Ke habang lahlela to and from like soccer ball. Tumantlung aborang. Mara. Os mamusa owako mapetla nkhono bomba beste yang khonwaka o shemusadi wale nangata. She loved me so much. Her daughters adored me. Yo ke konje kimang Naniki and Nthabiseng were her daughters. They were high school age. I told you guys that not only did I move schools in just 1 year 3 times one time, right? From grade 1 to grade 2 I moved 3 schools. Well, in this season, I was also moving houses that many times. The Lord was teaching me a few, like he was basically foreshadowing I would eventually end up no mawam, and that would be where I would be most content. Mara before my mom put me in a purse and carried me everywhere with her. It happened literally again like clockwork. Typologies back then, that's how the Lord has always worked, even in the Bible. The feasts. The feast days, they are convocations. And the reason why they're called convocations is because when the Jews do them, when they do the ceremonies within the feast days, they always are a foreshadowing of something that is to come in the future. The Passover was a convocation of the death of Jesus Christ. The Feast of Unleavened Bread was a convocation of the dying of sin that Christ did when he was buried. That was the death of sin. And then the Feast of Pentecost, what do they call it? I forgot what that one at Pentecost is called, but that would be when the church age started. But they were done already, and they keep getting done every single year. They're foreshadowing something that's going to come in the future. And if God worked like that with the Jews, if he works like that in the Bible, even the death of Isaac, the attempted sacrifice of Isaac at the altar by Abraham, and then a ram replaced it, an animal caught by its horns in a thicket. That was a foreshadowing, again, the death of Jesus Christ. So if the Lord God, if that's how he works with the Jews, then you must trust that. Sometimes even you as a Gentile, magabiza, impilo yako is going to look eerily similar later on in your call and in your walk as a disciple of the Lord Jesus Christ. To what under heaven you done gone through as a kid, whatever you done experienced as a little one, you're going to realize ukuthi the situation I recognize it recognize, right? Because dala mina ngenzwa izinto ezinjena. If you are made to undergo something as a child, you are likely going to be very strong as an adult when there's a volume 2.0 of it. Mawukhulunyelwa amanga ngabantu abathu bakubuyisa maka bakupromisa ntho tse kima tse telle ebe basa pull it through, like what my cousins did. They were able to, there was a day ne re bangata go jarateng ya nkgono waka ne re le bangata, and when they dropped me off ko Mapetla ko Osmamosa one day for me to stay there for a while. When they dropped me off ko Osmamosa I was there crèche. When I was in crèche, I was there with her. Even though crèche nekia ko yona ya mama Doreen, my cousins were go crèching at things, so I didn't even understand why I couldn't stay with my grandmother and go to crèche like my cousins, every morning with them because ngibabona ko sekolong and later on. They just ditched me, and then I would meet my cousins at school. Like, what is happening? We should be living in the same house. Anyway, whatever, right? So this lady had me, I had lived with her at iterative spots, and my stay with her was in between crèche and primary. Okay, and it was some of my happiest days, but however, before then I was lied to. There was lots of joy. Mara, before then I was lied to. Before I grew contentment, essentially, with whatever situation I was in, and so mixed with the environment, I was lied to and made to be bereaved by all that lying. As a child, I felt raw about what was done to me, but then I conquered, I overcame it. No, not in the name of Christ, because I was yet to be born again, but just as a foreshadowing, a convocation, a feast day, if you will, of sorts. The Lord was showing me something to come. This lady was not even family. Do you understand what I'm saying? She was not family. She was just a best friend. But her daughters, her children, you know, when you're a child and you think you're not pretty, or you think that there's nothing much going on, and you're not as spoiled as your cousins are spoiled by the grown-ups in the room, and you're also not as spoiled or as considered really adorable and wonderful by all the other people of your own family and everybody encircling them. And then you move to the house of strangers, and everybody thinks you're like the golden child. Everybody, everybody's always like, hello Nana, what can I do for you? Like, you know, when you have an adorable kid in the room and everybody just can't help but play nae. Guys, that house, I one day when I was dropped off there by a caucus of relatives, including the cousin, relate Daga convoy, and I thought that they had packed my bags and everything. They hadn't told me that we're going there to stay. I remember my boy cousin, my favorite boy cousin was there. My favorite girl cousin was there. Her little sister was there. My sister was there. My older cousin, girl cousin was there. And then by the Batswadi, elderly, my uncle was there. My mom was there. Guys, hey. Thinking that this woman and then all go back home, but instead they were dropping me off. We go there, and when we get there, I'm initially happy, but then when they tell me I gotta stay, when then they bring out the suitcase, toothbrush, I was like, I don't want to be here. I want to be with my cousins. I want to be at Jardini Kotladi, of which is a small little walking distance, but when you're a child, it's far away, right? It's too far for somebody that's like, what, 5? Yeah. I remember it as clear as day. And my cousin, I was very tight with him, my boy cousin. He was the one that lied to me the most. He was like, Karabo. This is a 7-year-old talking to a 5-year-old. All that deception and all these little children, and you think kids are going to heaven. Y'all need to evangelize these randos, okay? Anyway, whatever. You think all kids are going in the rapture. No, they're not. I have seen children getting left behind. I have had visions and dreams of a little child army. Yeah, a child getting a vigilante, bandit, rando, and some of these children were cannibals in the tribulation. Not every child is going in the rapture. Whatever you might believe is the age of accountability, it's much younger than a lot of people imagine. It is not 13. Understand? There's a dude that I was listening to the other day. I love his content, but here I desire to correct him. His name is Evans, something Evans, like Tony Evans. I don't know, like something Evans. Wonderful preacher, but he believes that kids up to the age of 13 are going in the rapture automatically, whether or not they know Jesus. My cousin was about 7 when he was deceiving me all that hotly. Child soldiers that you be finding in Uganda, they're not going in the rapture. There's too much evil over there, and kids can have a conscience, can feel bad. They know what's wrong and they know what's right. Therefore, if you don't evangelize them early, they can not only go to hell, but they can also get left behind despite being cute little 7-year-olds. Thoroughly, that is what I have seen. But then again, we will see God rapture. What in the world that gives? God is holy. God, just because the little children are to be suffered to come to him does not mean. If anything, just last night I had a dream of a woman. I woke up from a dream where a woman was left behind with her 2 very little children. And she wished she could take these kids and throw them into the heaven. Like literally, and throw them into heaven and endure the tribulation. And she wished the Lord had taken at least her children, because she did not know how in the world, given that she was aware that the rapture had happened and the tribulation was about to commence. She was aware of the dire straits that they were about to meet. She was aware of the dire straits that they were about to meet everybody. And she was like, only me, Lord. Only me. Let me go through this horrible time that's coming. She ignored the gospel in the run-up to, and so therefore did not teach it to her children. And she was like, please take my children. The way she was so desperate after the rapture happened, she wanted to grab them by their hand and throw them in the sky, into the sky, into heaven. And she was begging on some, God, only me. Let me go through the tribulation. I will take what I need to take. Not the mark of the beast, but I will die for you. I will do what I need to do, but please take my children. Yes, like it, guys. One of the kids was so little that was around her thigh area. The head of this child was around this woman's thigh area. So his body height, the boy's body height, was pretty much from the bottom of this woman's feet to her knees, and then her head was by the thigh, and then the other one. These kids, the one looked like could be no older than essentially around 4 years old, 5 years old, while the older one looked like maybe 7 to 9 years old. And she was trying to throw them into heaven. She was trying to throw them into heaven, begging the Lord to take them, because she was doubtful of God, did not repent, realized what had happened, knew what was coming, and was like, not my children, only me. Please take my children, I'm begging you. So God is so holy. He is so holy that he will not embrace a disrespectful child. Wana o rogakanang, wana o sanking instruction, wana o pushang bana ba bang ko sekolong, o pulang bana ba bang ko sekolong, wana o gogang di singles tsa banyana ba bang ko sekolong, wana o dulang ale in a fight, wana o dulang a throw his toys out the cot ko molong a sa batlo mamela mme wa teng. The Lord sorry, commandments are given to children to obey your parents, obey structures. And if kids are disobedient and if they're full of profanity and are asinine, given conscience, I have felt like trash as a 4 or 5 or a 6-year-old child for mocking a grown-up and then seeing his face be sad because walk away, however, because I was a child and he wasn't trying to fight a child. And when then this man walked away from us, as children, disrespectful children after disrespecting a man coming back home from work. When I saw how forlorn this man was, it was one of the guys that used to be very nice to us as kids. And he was perhaps maybe at that time 19 or 20. And when he was coming back from Komsebesi, before, and he was so sad listening to us speak all these things to him, and he went ko jarateng atotsi without responding. And young unja so much katola. I felt so sad. I was like 6 or 5 or 7. At the latest. Long story short, I had enough of a conscience to know what was wrong until I felt so guilty that I stopped doing something that the fellow kids with me were doing. If your kids can have a conscience, if they can feel bad for slapping someone, hitting someone, if they can feel bad for pushing someone, if they, upon seeing somebody being forlorn because of something they said, they can feel some kind of way, essentially they can repent. They can know that something is awry with their behavior and so do a better thing. Y'all need to be evangelizing your children, but you don't do it. You don't do it. So how many of y'all have sent kids to hell? I do not know. And that is why the Lord has seen it fit to close my ministry until the rapture has happened, so you can see just how many children, if at all they had died in that state, would have gone to hell. So you can see how much your irresponsible parenting is sending toddlers to hell when they die, unfortunately, in some freak accident on the school playground. Because Mewa Tengi kept on feeding this child gentle parenting. You can't assume they're in heaven. The Lord is holy. Mara, this here message is not popular, but it will be embraced like swallowing a tough pill once your 5-year-old is chilling with you after the rapture has happened. And you're like, but she's just an innocent child. Before who? You. You see innocence in a child that can adopt the F word of Netflix that you allow her to watch and then use it in school. A child that can yank her brother's, that can yank her sister's hair. A child that can push another child off the merry-go-round. A child that can ignore a teacher and say I have rights because the parents have taught that kid disrespect. You're gonna see how many of these children are still in these streets. I have heard of so many people getting rapture dreams where some kids were taken and others were left behind, whereas there are others who are trying to satiate their need for all children to go into heaven by saying, Karabo, God is not going to send a child to hell. Yeah, for the same reason that there are some people who believe that God is not going to send anyone at all to hell, because a loving God would never do that. God is holy, and y'all need to understand that that's a thing. Anyway, whatever. Herein lies my deceptive cousin, 7-year-old. My cousin was born in 1982. I was born in 84. one of my bombas, one of my favorite best cousins, a boy, with my mom and uncle and cousins, they buttered me, and he was the one that buttered me down the most. He buttered me down and up the most. Gold Reef City. This is the middle of the week. It's a school week. The next day, batlong school uniform to go and attend eskolweni. And I am being told by my cousin in the middle of the week, Gold Reef City, but you have to stay here for tonight because there's not. This was the reasoning. This was the reasoning that my smooth criminal cousin gave me. The same cousin of which I would unfortunately later on get a dream as a child when I was living now right? I get it. This is the boy cousin whose mom is the aunt that took me to St. Matthew's. This boy cousin, when I was living Karabo, so he was around now, right, with me and his older sister and his much younger baby sister. This cousin, I had a dream of him being in hell at that age that he was when I was a child. In a tripod, a cauldron. We call it a tripod, but it's a cauldron, right? A cauldron. While I was suspended over these flames, watching him burn, and it was like sutured, almost like grooved into the wall, and he was in it being cooked, and he was in that dream about 11 or 12 years old, and he was 11 or 12 years old in waking life, and he was in that cauldron at that age while I was suspended over mullo, made to watch everything. That dream felt really real, but I woke up and realized it was a dream, and it etched on me, and I felt horrible and wrote it off as just a dream. Of course, I would get born again at the age of 26 and realize that God showed me hell. At that stage, he showed me hell, and my cousin is still alive today, thank God. He is a man in his 40s now, and at that stage, God was already showing me his hellbound state. He would later on turn to a whole bunch of witchcraft, be one of my biggest afflictors in terms of sorcery, etc. This young man, I already saw him in hell at the age of 12. The same boy of which, because I get mewatengi, nabatengi, including me, in Catholic schools, he was in and of himself, therefore, a Roman Catholic by profession. And one time he said to me, when we were now, perhaps he's like 17 and I am 15. As now, teenagers, right? At around the age of 17 for him and my 15th year of life. I remember one time hanging out with this cousin because I told you he was one of my best friends. So every so often I would go Habona, and every so often he would come go here. So we were tight like skinny jeans. All right. One time he said when he was 17 in high school and I was 15 in high school, he was like, when I grow up I want to be a pastor. I remember being like, Joe, why you want to go be a pastor? What a boring profession. And he's like, because there's a lot of money to be made in religion. That I can't say that those were his words verbatim, but paraphrased, he literally said that when he grows up, he wants to be a pastor because he sees that pastors make a whole bunch of money. Essentially, he was already at that stage of the kind of mindset that the house of God is to be neglected as a house of prayer, but rather made a den full of traitors, of demons, of enterprise makers, of thieves. And the health, wealth, and prosperity gospel was already bubbling in his core. And he had made an observation that some pastors drive expensive cars, and some pastors have big homes, and they've got luxurious lifestyles. And that for him, in spite of being unlike me and the rest of us as children growing up, he was kept in a religious school, whereas the rest of us were yanked out of these religious schools. My cousins, my cousins that belonged to my uncle, the only religious school they went to was a Mayfair convent, and my cousin did go all the way to grade 7 in Mayfair convent, I believe, right? He did. And then her little sister went to Linksfield. Yeah, but she did finish at Mayfair convent, so she had that. But then high school was completely, I can't say pagan. If anything, her high school was Jewish. She went to a Jewish high school. And it was because of her that the Lord has, guys, I know my stories are all over the show. It was because of my best friend, female cousin, that I developed quite a deep love for the Jews. Because she was always talking about their holidays, like in the school that she attended. In the school that this cousin of mine attended, they used to have not only public holidays on the days that South Africa had public holidays like Easter, Christmas, whatnot, but they also went on holiday on Jewish holidays. I can't tell you what they were, but I believe like they whatever. I don't know what Jewish holidays are. Still to this day, I don't know the Jewish calendar properly, right? But Jewish special days that they observe where they stay at home and don't work or go to school. Their school never used to go to school too, so she had a lot more public holidays in a year. The school honored the South African calendar with our public holidays, so they were also participating in Christian public holidays, but they also, over and above it, like I said, had Jewish public holidays. And because this was a Jewish school, they practiced Jewish faith, meaning that even though there were children there that were not Jewish, those that were Jewish did basically do Jewish ceremonies, like synagogue attendance, talking about the Torah. It was a Jewish school. This is basically the same stuff